When my dad's alcoholism set in, I became a very, very self-destructive, poor decision-making young man. Growing up, my father was my hero. I idolized him. I looked to him for advice. I looked to him for comfort. I looked to him for safety. He was that protective alpha male that if you wanted to mess with the Smith family, you knew you were going to be in trouble. He had his strong qualities. The NFL was a big part of that. He was an NFL football player. He was the bigger-than-life guy that everybody in the community kind of gooped and gawed over. So I was looking at him the same way as a little kid, the same way I see my sons look at me now. And then it just changed like that. He played from 87 to 92, I think. He sure didn't make $50 million. So obviously he knew he had to do something to provide for our family for the next 20 years. And then he decided to start a construction company. And let's just put it this way, he sure didn't have a business degree. He sure didn't. He wasn't equipped to handle that. He lost everything. I think it just crushed his pride and crushed his ego. And you're on this huge platform. Everybody looks to you and thinks you're supposed to be rich and famous. And then all of a sudden, you're filing bankruptcy. And this person in the community finds out. That person in the community finds out. And word starts buzzing, and you're not the hero anymore. And it just kind of crippled him, and alcohol was his safe place. And then once we were kind of aware of it, obviously you notice more. As a kid, you start looking for, like, is dad drunk today? Is dad drunk in the morning? Is dad drunk for lunch? Is dad drunk for dinner? And then it all kind of smacks you in the face. The real Daryle Smith just got lost more and more every single day, and it was just heartbreaking to watch. An angry, drunk, 330-pound, NFL offensive lineman isn't something that a 12-year-old and two 10-year-old little brothers are equipped to deal with. I don't think I really understood it. And then obviously once I got a little older, the respect started getting lost. Where's the man that raised me for the first 10, 11 years? I started to become very bitter and angry at him. And that is when I started my demise. When my dad's alcoholism set in, I became a very, very self-destructive, poor decision-making young man. My mom will still talk about it some to this day, that I was the sweetest kid she'd ever seen, and I was the most loving kid she'd ever seen. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of went poof, and she's like, oh no, the darkness from his daddy, I'm starting to see in him. And I had a dad at home drunk, and I had no consequences. I knew he was going to be passed out by a certain time at night, and I was gone. And that breaks my heart to think that not only did my mom have a drunk husband in the house, raising hell, breaking stuff, she's got a 17-year-old son, her oldest son, who's the next leader of the Smith family, maybe dead in a ditch, maybe won't make it home. She might be burying her son. I get through high school alive, thank God. I committed as a junior to Tennessee. And my dad played at Tennessee. Tennessee football was a huge part of our family. It was kind of a no-brainer where I was going to go to college as long as they offered me, and I had an opportunity to play there. And then once I got to the University of Tennessee, I got a DUI shortly thereafter. I never made it to a game for Tennessee, never played for Tennessee. I was in and out of there within a couple months, failed my first class because I cheated. It just wasn't an ideal situation for me to be able to get myself together, and I needed a change of scenery and a fresh start, so I ended up at Marshall University. In that first semester at Marshall, I was even, just victim personality. Oh no, poor me. Look what I've done. I passed 7 hours, I think, that semester. The whole narrative of Lee Smith is just like his dad. He's going to screw it up. He has no chance. To now I've lost my lifelong dream of playing at Tennessee. I've lost my lifelong dream of playing SEC football on big stages. Now that's never going to happen. I'm at Marshall. I think I'm too good for Marshall, which is arrogant and as far from humble as it gets, and false. And it had to be, 2 or 3 months into the season. We get into a little altercation at practice with one of the older tight ends, but he hit me harder than I hit him. I end up in the hospital, and my kind of throat swelled up on me. My face was broken in multiple places. Feeding tube, emergency surgery, putting my face back together. So then it would have been kicked out of Tennessee, broken face, laying in a hospital bed, fell out of school. It would have been over. I'll never forget, my wife still has it. They gave me these little index cards because I couldn't talk. I wrote on a little index card to my mom, I'm going to marry my wife. And I always say my wife saved my life. There's no doubt about it. Once she was kind of counting on me, I knew that I needed to kind of buckle my chin strap and tighten my belt buckle and make sure I didn't let her down. Once she got pregnant with our son Brody, who's now 13, that's when the switch went off, and I said, okay, it's time to buckle down and attack this thing. You're on your last leg. It's the final straw. I wasn't going to let Alicia Smith or Brody Smith down when it came to how I worked, how I handled business, how I went to school. And I had lawnmowers in the back of my truck because I had a mortgage at 6 a.m. workouts. Because after I did my summer class, I had to go mow yards all day to take care of my families. Now I have Amanda and Brock and Addison, and we're the wild bunch. 2 college degrees and 11 years in the NFL later, my wife and that little boy saved me. Took a child psychology class when I was young. It was one of my prerequisites. I took it and I just fell in love with it. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool stuff. This could help me kind of look in the rearview mirror and figure out my family dynamic, from my father to me to my decisions. And my professor there, Keelan Hinton, I'll never forget him. I told him, I said, man, I want to get a psychology degree. He said, come on. So I took as many classes with him as I could. I went to his office hours as much as I could, and I just picked his brain. Really helped me just understand the nurture side. When you didn't have proper role models as a young child and as an adolescent, especially as a male, it's just so easy to slide off the rails when there's not someone there you respect to grab you. And I lived it, and God got me through it, and my wife got me through it. And it also gave me a big time realization of, like, my dad wasn't this scummy man that wanted to let his family down. My dad's grandfather was the only man kind of really in his life, had a big time drinking problem. And then my dad has a big time drinking problem, and then alcohol got a hold of me in my life. You look at a lot of my family, and I do believe it's genetic. It even took me years and years after I got married and after I had kids to really get that kind of alcohol stuff out of my life. That I had to get away from that crap. I look and I'm like, all right, there's a pattern here that needs to be broken, and I need to break it. My hero let me down. I'll be damned if I repeat that mistake. There's cycles in communities. There's cycles in families. There's just cycles with males or absent males that just get passed down and passed down and passed down. And I just truly do believe that if men, young men especially, have a strong male in their life somewhere, and Jesus, it saves everything. So I'm fired up about life after football, man. I can't wait to transition to this next phase. I'm going to be building a gym back home in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a triple F gym, faith, family, football, in that order. My faith life, my family, and football are the 3 biggest things in my life up to this point. It's going to be right in the heart of Knoxville. It's going to be just a wonderful environment that allows young athletes to train the way the professional athletes train. I never had that person that said, hey, it's okay to screw up. It's how you recover from that. It's how you rebound. It's how you don't let one mistake turn into 50 mistakes. I was a 50 mistake kid, and it would warm my heart and really bring me a lot of joy in life if I can be a resource for these kids after mistake 1, mistake 2, mistake 3, and help them stay on the rails more than they stay off of them, because I was living off of them. If there's anybody out there that's a young Lee Smith that's off the rails and in a very toxic environment, and I can kind of grab them and bring them over to the gym that I'm building and love on them and be a part of their life and just be someone that they can look to, or just call when they're having a bad day. Hey, Dad's drunk again. All right, I'll come grab you. We'll get you a burger and just get you out of it for a minute and give you a little peace. It's time to pass the torch and give on to the next crew and help them be better players, better people, better young men, and I'm fired up.
I'm done, period, buddy.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm glad I played one more. It's been a blast out here helping Arthur get this thing going in the right direction.
He's going to throw, and it's caught. Touchdown, Lee Smith. Come on.
I've had a hell of a ride, my friend. All right, Hogs, let's party. Hey, let's have some fun right here. That's one thing I'll miss one day is some of these wild young players. Oh my goodness. We're going to 1, 2, 3, step.